Hi, my name is Tim. I'm the Everyday Apologist. I'm here with Jonathan McLatchie. Welcome to the show, John. Jonathan, just go ahead and explain a little bit about you, your background, who you are, and what you maybe specialize in, and then we'll kind of jump into our topic for today.
Sure. Well, I'm an apologist with a background in biology. I have a bachelor's degree in forensic biology, and I have two master's degrees. One is in evolutionary biology, which I obtained at the University of Glasgow, and I have another master's degree in medical and molecular bioscience from the University of Newcastle. And I've been involved in various issues. I've done a lot of work in the intelligent design community. I've done a lot of writing for blogs such as Evolution News and Views, and so forth. I'm also very interested in New Testament historiography, and I'm also interested in Islam. So I specialize in a few areas within apologetics, and yeah.
Great. So to sum all that up, you were a really smart fellow, I would say, for sure. So I appreciate you being on the show, and today I kind of wanted to pick your brain, get some information, help the viewers kind of understand what we should do when we're in a conversation and something about evolution and the Bible comes up. So if I'm imagining a scenario kind of where you're talking to a skeptic or talking to somebody that maybe doesn't share your worldview, and they say, we can't believe the Bible because evolution is proven to be true, and the Bible clearly contradicts evolution, so therefore I can't believe the Bible. What would you say in response to that kind of charge or that kind of claim?
Well, I think I'd start by asking the skeptic to define what he means when he uses the word evolution, because it's a rather slippery term, right? I mean, evolution can mean changes in allele frequency in a population over time, or it can refer to common ancestry, or it can refer to the proposition of neo-Darwinism, which is to say that a fundamentally blind, stochastic process is causally sufficient to explain the complexity of life on Earth. And those different propositions which are associated with the word evolution have different levels of evidence going for them and have different levels of acceptance within the scientific communities.
So, as a Christian, someone who upholds Scripture, the inerrancy of Scripture, is it possible? Are there interpretations of Scripture that would allow me to believe in common ancestry, believe in this allele change over time, and still be able to hold a inerrancy view of Scripture, or is that completely out in your opinion?
I think one can hold that position as to whether it's the best interpretation of Genesis 1. I think one can certainly adopt an inerrancy position and also adopt common ancestry and argue that Genesis 1 isn't intended to convey a literalistic chronology, or you have to take into account the genre of literature that you're dealing with. I mean, Genesis 1, God says, let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind. So one may interpret that in terms of some sort of evolutionary process. I personally don't do that. I think one can make that argument, but I personally think that the evidence for common ancestry is not nearly as strong as many people want to believe, and certainly the fact that the neo-Darwinian mechanism is demonstrably devoid of scientific traction, I think doesn't bode well or at least it certainly raises doubts about the validity of common ancestry as well.
Yeah, okay, great. If somebody wants more information, Jonathan, about this and maybe educate themselves a little bit more on both sides of the spectrum of this, the neo-Darwin, the old Earth creation, where would you send them? Where would be a good resource for them to further their education in this subject?
Sure. I think Evolution News and Views is one of the best blog websites that covers this issue. It's evolutionnews.org, and there you can get news updates on peer-reviewed scientific papers that have come out and addressing objections that are being made and reviewing criticisms of the intelligent design arguments. So that's a great resource. I'd also recommend reading several books like Darwin's Doubt, which is a book that came out over a year ago on the Cambrian explosion. Came out about 2 years ago on the Cambrian explosion and the case that makes for intelligent design as well as against Darwinism. I'd also recommend Signature in the Cell by Stephen Meyer as well. And I'd recommend, that's on the origin of life. I'd recommend The Design of Life, which is a sort of a very good introductory level textbook, which is written by William Dembski and Jonathan Wells. You could also read Michael Behe's work, Darwin's Black Box, which is outlining the case from irreducible complexity, and also his more recent, published in 2006, The Edge of Evolution, which is tries to delineate the limitations of neo-Darwinian mechanism. I mean, there's many books that could be listed. On the other side, I'd recommend reading Jerry Coyne's Why Evolution is True. Okay. We'll give you sort of an introductory level book on the arguments for evolution. Also, Richard Dawkins' The Greatest Show on Earth. Ernst Mayr has a classic book, and the late Ernst Mayr has a classic book called What Evolution Is, which is basically an introductory level book on the mechanism of evolution and what evolutionary biologists study, and it's a great resource if people want to get up to speed on that. So cool. There's a few resources for you.
Great, awesome. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the show. We're looking forward to having you again. We'll talk about a different subject in the future, and make sure you guys check out those resources that Jonathan explained. You can watch this video over and over and over again. I know there was some pretty in-depth concepts that we were talking about, but I think that if you can take just a couple of those pieces that we mentioned and use them in conversation with people that are skeptics or people that bring up the original objection that we talked about, creating this tension between current science and the scriptures and not being able to reconcile those two. You can also use this video to pass it along to someone that may have an interest in this. And if you're out of your depth in an area when you're talking about this, say that you don't know. Don't pretend that you do know. There are people like Jonathan that you can point them to. He's done a number of videos and podcasts that will help explain some of this stuff. And you can help further educate yourself with some of those books that Jonathan mentioned and some of the websites. So that's all for this week. We'll see you again soon. Thanks.